Welcome again to our program. I'm Chris with the Hillsborough County Public Library, and I'm joined this evening by Jessica Daly. How are you, Jessica?
I am doing great. Thank you guys so much for letting me be with you this evening.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you. And again, this program is Back to School Family Health Tips, and this is part of our Back to School initiative. Go online to our website to find out more about that. And we also want to recommend a ebook from our collection. It's through Hoopla, and it's the Mayo Clinic Family Health Book. It's just a basic reference book. It's the 5th edition, and you can find out more about this book and other books in our ebook collection at hcplc.org/ebooks. All right, I'm going to give Jessica presenter control here. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to introduce you, Jessica. Jessica is an assistant professor and a librarian with AdventHealth, and we're very thrilled to have her back. Jessica always shares great information, and we're looking forward to this presentation. Jessica, I'm going to turn off my camera and microphone, but I will be here in the background if you need me, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. All right, welcome everyone to Back to School Family Health Tips. So this is going to be an overview of just some things that you can remember, keep in mind, just be refreshed as the school year begins back. I am Jessica Daly. I want to show you a little bit about myself. This is my family here, my husband Brian and my daughter Taylor. And these are our two, I guess you'd say our fur animals, fur babies. Scout is our golden retriever and Bella is our Shih Tzu. And so we've lived in Florida now for 6 years. I've worked as a medical research librarian within hospitals, but also in academic settings. And now I'm really blessed to work for AdventHealth University, where I can kind of merge those two worlds together. So I do a lot of presenting about a topic called health literacy. So what is that? Well, personal health literacy is really your understanding of your health. Do you understand any diagnosis you may have? Do you understand your medications and why to take them and how to take them? Do you feel confident talking with your healthcare team? So all of those are pieces of health literacy. So it really is the understanding you have of your health. And then can you take that information and make the best decisions possible for you and your health? Because inevitably it's your body, it's your health. And so I really want you to be an advocate for yourself and be able to speak to the things that are happening in your body. Well, I also have to look at the flip side. What happens when we have low health literacy, which means low or no understanding of our health? Well, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, put together this graphic, and I use it a lot because it really shows what happens to a lot of people when they don't understand their health. So the very first thing is they are in the emergency room more often. And it could be that they need to be there, but it also could be that that's the only place they really know to get care. Maybe they're not understanding that they can go to a primary physician or an immediate care type situation. So we see these patients going to the emergency room more often. We also see them having more hospital stays per year. And then we often think that patients aren't carrying out the instructions or the plan that has been put together by their healthcare team, when in fact, they really don't understand how to carry out that plan. So we see patients not following up, not doing the things at home that they need to after a hospitalization. And then unfortunately, in the end, all of these add up to higher mortality rates. People who don't understand their health are more likely to lose their life. And that is something we want to avoid at all costs. So the more we know about our health, the better we can help take care of ourselves. So we're going to talk today about back to school and just wrapping our brains around what does this look like when it comes to my child's health. So the very first topic that we're going to talk about today is a focus on our kids' nutrition, on what they're eating and drinking. What are they putting in their bodies? And let me just be transparent and tell you that I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and during that time, it was a huge push of processed food and high sugar foods. And, we really didn't know what we were eating. I didn't know that it was bad that often I would have a Pepsi and what I called a honey bun for my breakfast. And so that is how I grew up eating. And no one ever really talked with my parents about good nutrition or how we should eat. And so it really just snowballed. And so thankfully, I have realized now that what I put in my body has everything to do with how I feel. But it took me getting to my 40s to figure that out. And so I want you to be empowered to make those changes in your family and in your children's lives early on. But take a look at these numbers. 17% of children ages 2 to 19 in the US are obese. And so that is a problem in our country. And that is something that is really hurting our kids. And it's going to hurt our kids the older they get. Then 40%, now this one is a one that should get your attention. 40% of the total calorie intake of children from ages 2 to 19 comes from added sugars and solid fats. So we're giving our kids a lot of saturated fats and also processed sugar, and it's in everything. That's where it really comes into us looking at those food labels, seeing what we're giving our kids. And believe me, it's not easy to eat healthy, but it is doable. And once you get used to it, it really can become a part of life. The other thing I tell people is just cut back on certain areas and, really implement new foods and healthy foods. So let's talk about how to handle picky eaters, because I have a 19-year-old now that was a picky eater. She's come a long way, but I totally understand what it's like to have a picky eater. So here are a couple things that you can just try. Number one, continue to introduce new foods. Even if they are reluctant, they're, just not having it, don't want to do it, please still introduce new foods. Introduce new types of food. Make it something really fun. Go to different restaurants from different cultures and expose them to different types of food. The second thing, this is the tough one for all of us parents. Be a role model with your eating habits. Are you eating healthy? Are you eating plants? Are you eating lean meats? What do they see you doing? Because we can't tell our kids that they must eat healthy while we are not eating healthy, because they're looking at us 24/7. Whether you understand that or not, we are their example. And so whenever you do it as a family, that really has an impact. And let me say this too. When you prepare meals at home and you give them healthy options, and those are the options they have, they will at some point come around because they realize, okay, we're going to have healthy meals at home. So I'm going to have to find some healthy things that I like so that I can be a part of mealtime. Now, the third thing is don't use food as a reward. And let me say again, very transparently, that I did that my daughter's entire life. We went to the doctor, then afterwards we went and got ice cream. If she got good grades, then we would go out for burgers and fries. So whatever happened, we used food as a reward. And when you look at a lot of cultures, and we're especially here in Florida, I think a melting pot of cultures from all over the globe, but even the United States, food is associated with everything. It's associated with celebrating. It's associated with sadness. It's associated with any special occasion. No matter the culture, food is a part of that. So we have to just be careful with the decisions we're making about food. Okay, so number two, we need to know the risks that our school-age child may face as they begin their new school year. So a lot of these are, very negative things, but I think it's important for us to be ready for us to maybe even think and be ready for some conversations about these topics. So the first one is head lice. The second one we're going to touch on is actually scoliosis. And then we're going to look at bullying and also poor vision. Oh, we went the wrong way. Here we go. And then we went too many. My goodness. Here we go. So head lice, of course, we start talking about it. What do we all start doing? We start itching. Our scalp starts itching. Well, I was an elementary school teacher for about 17 years. I taught grades K through 6, and head lice was a reality. And it was just something that we had to deal with, especially in the winter months. So not as prevalent often here in Florida, but why in the winter months? Because of coats and hats. And, you know, another biggie was sharing combs and brushes. So that was something that we really tried to talk to kids about. So if this happens, what do you do? First, check everyone in the house for lice and get treatment if necessary. And you can buy products now from the drugstore, Walmart, Target, anywhere you can get things that you would find in a pharmacy. Wash all bed linens and clothes in very hot water, so the hottest setting that your washing machine can go on. Then pull them in the hot, then put them in the hottest cycle that your dryer will go for at least 20 minutes because heat kills lice. And then dry clean any clothing, bed linen, stuffed animals that aren't machine washable. Another thing I would tell you that's not on this list is with stuffed animals or little pillows. You can actually put them in black trash bags, like the yard trash bags you would use out in your yard to put leaves or grass in. Tie them up and leave them for at least a week or more. And they will actually die in the dark and where they can't live off of anything. So you don't have to throw away all your stuffed animals. You can actually do that as well. Vacuum your carpets, any cloth covered furniture. Don't think about just your home, think about your car too. Discard all hair care items. Or if you don't want to throw away their favorite brush or comb, you can soak them in rubbing alcohol for an hour or more. Then wash them with hot soapy water. And then, while not always necessary, you can remove nits, which are the eggs of lice, from hair with a fine-tooth comb. And there are actually places and hair salons within most towns that will take care of that for you. You go and pay them like you would a haircut or, you know, to have your hair done, and they will actually take care of the lice for you. So that's just a heads up. If that happens, there are people that will do that. Now, scoliosis is something that we begin to identify and see in elementary, sometimes middle school students. And so here are just a few signs of things that you can look for. So maybe uneven shoulders. Maybe you notice that about your child. Or one shoulder blade is more prominent on their back. An uneven waist, one hip higher than the other. So you're looking for things that are offset a little. You know, it's not as equaled out. Also, one side of the rib cage could jut out a little forward. You also see a prominence on one side of the back when the child bends forward. And then with most scoliosis cases, the spine will rotate or twist. So it sometimes causes one side of the body to stick out a little farther. So if you notice a few of these things, should you see the doctor? Well, go to your doctor if you notice any of these signs with your child, because here's the thing. It's better to be proactive. They can do an x-ray, they can do some different tests, and they can figure out what the best way of caring for your child is, the best plan of treatment. So you may not always notice it. Mild curves can develop, different things, but occasionally teachers, friends, and sports teams, teammates are the first to notice different things. So it's just something to be looking for, not to make you paranoid about that. But if you see some of these signs, you can talk with your doctor about that. Okay, so this topic is very sensitive for many of us. Probably all of us at some point in our lives could look back and say that we were a victim of bullying, or maybe even some of you are thinking, well, I think I probably bullied others. So it's something that we really want to avoid, but it's real. It's going to happen, unfortunately. And so it's good for us to really talk with our kids about it and make sure they know that you're there with open lines of communication, so that if something is happening like that, they won't be afraid to tell you. The worst ever is when our children are suffering or going through something and they don't tell us for us to help them. So there are 3 types of bullying, and I want you to be aware of these 3 types. The first is verbal bullying. These are just when people tease or name call. Maybe it's inappropriate sexual comments, just taunting someone or threatening to cause them harm. So maybe nothing physical has happened, but these things are being spoken to your child. And in that case, that is bullying. That is not okay, and that's definitely something that needs to be addressed. Next, we have social bullying. And I think that this really has come into play even more because of social media, because of cell phones. So a lot of our children, middle school, high school, they have cell phones. And so what we often call it is cyberbullying when it's done through social media. But social bullying is sometimes referred to as relational bullying. It involves hurting someone's reputation or relationship. So this might be someone who leaves your child out on purpose and makes sure they know that they were left out. Telling other children not to be friends with someone else, spreading rumors about someone, or even embarrassing them in public. So this is, definitely, these are things to be addressed. They're things that we don't want happening to our kids. And then physical bullying. This involves hurting a person's body or possessions. So if they're hitting, kicking, pinching, spitting on someone, tripping or pushing them, talking, taking or breaking someone's things, or even making mean or rude hand gestures at someone, making them think that they're going to hit them, or making some, bad type of gesture to them. I don't know another really way to say that, but that is physical bullying. So we want to make sure that we're aware of all these things, that we're having conversations with our kids, and we're talking about not just how was your day, but who did you talk to today? Who did you sit with? Who did you sit with in lunch? Who did you play with on the playground? Tell me about them. Because often at first, kids will think that bullying is what friends do, and so that is not something that we want them to think. Okay, and the last one for you to look out for is poor vision. And let me say that, it was probably 3rd or 4th grade before we discovered that my daughter desperately needed glasses. She had gotten used to her vision, even though it was very poor. And so this is kind of one of those things where some kids love getting glasses. I think it is much more of a cool thing now because there's so many different types of glasses. Some kids even wear fashion glasses, which aren't even prescription. So, there are a lot of things you can do to make it a positive. So what are some things that parents or teachers can help or be aware of? The first one is refractive errors. So this means you're either nearsighted, which means you can't see far away, or you're farsighted, you can't see in the distance. And so these are 2 things that are very common. And so then the next one is what we call amblyopia. Let me say this, amblyopia. I got it. And we call this lazy eye. And so a lot of times children will have to wear a patch for a while, and that can also be an embarrassing thing and pretty difficult. So we want to be aware of that. And then we also have strabismus, maybe I'm saying that correctly, and we call that cross-eyed, and that happens in a lot of children, and there's different corrective things that they can do as well for that. And then convergence insufficiency. This eye condition affects how the eyes work together when looking at objects close up. So it causes blurry or double vision for kids. So really it's just important to start taking them to the eye doctor pretty early on, letting them have eye exams and keeping track of their progress. Let me say this too, if your child needs glasses, please go back every year, because unfortunately it changes, it worsens sometimes a little bit, and so you want to make sure you have the best prescription or the most up-to-date. All right, number 3, make sleep a priority. So I am a huge advocate of sleep. I think it is critical to how we feel. It's critical to relationships. It's critical to our learning. Every part of us is connected to our sleep patterns. So sleep for your kids is equally as important as what they eat and if they exercise and move their body. Overuse of digital devices, our screen time, often interrupts or interferes with sleep. So let me just say that the blue light that comes off of devices, that could be a laptop, a iPad, it could be their phone. The light that's emitted from that, especially in a dark room, if they look at that before bed, it actually stops the production of the chemicals that we need in our brains to go to sleep. So it actually halts sleep instead of helping sleep. And so kids need, and this goes up to teenagers, at least 8 to 10 hours a night. So think about, is my child getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night? And I know our schedules change and sometimes there's a difference there, but really trying to make sure they get at least 8 is really critical to their success the following day. So here is my suggestion. Establish a sleep routine because we are creatures of habit. When we have a certain routine, there's some comfort to that, stability to that, and it helps us to do the things that we should be doing. So a lot of experts, and that's where I get all my info, I'll share that with you later, but put devices away at least an hour before bed. Avoid exercise before bed. Sometimes we think, well, we'll let our kids run around and maybe that'll help them sleep. It actually does the opposite. Actually avoid warm baths or hot showers right before bed. So here's my suggestion. Let's say during school, 9 o'clock is your bedtime, and that might be too late, but let's say 9 o'clock is your bedtime. Maybe take a bath or a shower at 6 or 7, like right after dinner. Also have a light snack, that's okay. Maybe some popcorn, a granola bar, a piece of fruit, but you want to avoid caffeine at all costs. I would say avoid caffeine altogether, but definitely in the evenings, late afternoon evenings. Encourage a book before bed. There is scientific data that shows that reading relaxes you. It lowers anxiety. It is just a phenomenal thing. So take time to read some books. A lot of times what we would do when my daughter was very young is she would pick a book that she was going to read and I would pick a book that I was going to read. And so we would do that at night. Use soft lighting before bed, maybe even all throughout your house, maybe lamps instead of overhead bright lights, especially any that are fluorescent type lights. That again makes us stay awake. And then I encourage using essential oils or a calming smell. I know for a lot of kids, they even have lavender bath and lotions now. And what happens is this: essential oils don't make you go to sleep. So let me explain this. What happens is if you use a certain fragrance, a certain smell, and you associate that with bedtime, then when your nose smells it and that message goes to your brain, it tells your brain it's time to relax and go to bed. So here's what I want you to know. Whatever smell you use in your child's bedroom or on their pillow, that should only be used for bedtime so that they associate that with relaxation and going to sleep. So you can put essential oils like on their pillow, in their room. A lot of the essential oils have like the misters that you put the essential oils in and then it goes into the room. That's what we use with our daughter. So when that smell goes to the brain, they realize it's time to go to sleep. And that's for all ages. So if you have trouble going to sleep, that is something to really think about. And then you can use a sound machine. Some kids like some white noise or maybe even a fan going in the room, and that may help as well. Okay, number 4, I want you to be a partner in your child's education. Often I can speak to this because I was an elementary teacher for many, many years and taught grades K through 6 at one point or another and was a school librarian and taught K through 6 as well. And so what I often saw was we either had super involved parents or parents that we never saw. And so I encourage you to, even if you are like myself, a working parent, can't be there for every party and meeting and everything, but still be present as much as you can and have a relationship with the teacher. So here's what I want you to think about. Share with the teacher in a conversation, an email, maybe even now it's so easy to do a Zoom, their likes, their dislikes, their strengths, what they're strong in, but also what they struggle with, because that's just normal. As much as we love our children, they are not perfect because no one is, and everyone has strengths and struggles. Share what their learning style is, how you feel they learn best, and also share family concerns and issues. And I understand a lot of people are very private. They don't want to share what's going on, but when it is something big like relational problems within the family, maybe you're undergoing a separation or divorce, you're already divorced, let the teacher know what the family dynamic is. Tell them about step brothers and sisters or step moms or dads. Explain what your family dynamic is. Often people maybe don't want to share that. They just say, well, we're private, we don't want everyone knowing everything. But it helps, I can tell you, as the teacher, to have some background. And remember, what you share is shared in confidence. And so the teacher has to, legally keep that confidence with you. And so it does help to let them know. And you don't have to let your child know that you've let the teacher know, because maybe they're embarrassed or don't want them to know. But it does help to let them know. And even if there's a death in the family, if something is going on that could affect them and their behavior and their progress at school, share that with the teacher. And then I have to put this, because I was a teacher for so long, and I'm still an elementary online teacher for 3rd grade. And so I tell people, be kind to your child's teacher. And look, I know we have had teachers in the past that I was not crazy about, that I maybe didn't like their style, or I didn't like how they ran the classroom. But you know what? In the end, they were my child's teacher, and I had to show them grace and kindness and be there if I could help in any way, because my child was going to be in their presence that school year probably more than they would be with me. And so I wanted the teacher to have a good feeling about us, about my daughter. So it is really important to show kindness. Now, how can you be present and supportive at school? And believe me, when some of my parents I know right now are thinking, well, Jessica, I teach, or I work full time, or I can't be there all the time. Here are a few tips that I would give you. Number one, write encouraging notes or emails to the teacher. Even if it's difficult to find positives, pull out those positives and tell them you appreciate what they do. Have lunch with your child at school if that's permitted, or if you can do that. And that just puts you in the mix of things, and you're seen, and you can also work on that rapport with the teacher. Attend field trips if possible, or when possible. Do small acts of kindness for the teacher. Maybe help in the classroom, help with class events or parties. And again, I couldn't always go. My husband was working, he couldn't always go, but we would send things, or we would help in some other way. And there it is, send in supplies when things are needed. And then small tokens of appreciation. This doesn't mean I'm saying go and buy the teacher a gift every week, but you could once in a while just send one of her or his favorite candy bar, or just, something really cute, and just so that they know they're thought of. That means so much. And then I want to talk about being present with your child. So this means put down what you're doing and listen. And often it means putting this down and listening, because there are times I'm guilty from work. Normally it's work. I will be on my phone and my daughter's talking to me and she will say, Mom, can you put your phone down? So see, it's not just kids and teenagers that won't put their phone down, it's us too. And so it really is important to get away from distractions, cut the TV off, the phones off, and listen. Start the day when you see them as you send them off from school with something positive. Maybe you have a catchy saying or a special handshake, or you say a prayer over them or a blessing, or you give them a hug, just giving them that boost before they leave you each day. Talk about something that totally interests your child. So let me just say, my child, when she would get interested in something, and that's even now, she would be passionate about it and wholehearted about it. And she is a collector. So she would collect things. And even now, one of the things that I have tried to do, and I'm doing really well at it, and I actually have enjoyed it, is she is very into Marvel. She loves anything Marvel, the superheroes, Marvel. And so she got really into it and she said, Mom, I want you to share in this with me. I want you to understand a little bit more of it. So I have not seen all the Marvel movies, but I've seen a lot of them and I really have enjoyed them. And it's something that bonds us together that we can talk about. So whether that is art or skateboarding or football or tennis or theater or singing, whatever they love to do, talk to them about it. Share a fun story about when your child was an infant or preschooler. So remind them of a funny story or something they did when they were little. People love that. Develop a connecting habit. So this again, power hugs, fist bumps, you have a smoothie time, maybe you do some wrestling or you play catch or dolls, but just something that you bond with them and have a chance to have these conversations. And then if you homeschool, adapt to fit their unique interests. So maybe you go outside during the day, or maybe you chase frogs, or even do your work in a big fort tent. So kind of mixing it up a little bit. But the main thing, I love it here at the bottom, enjoy your kids. So preventing illness, and we know that we're coming off of and still dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. So a lot of these things, it's made us more aware. If that's a positive that's come out of COVID, I will say that's a good thing. We want to prevent illness. We live in a society where we treat illness. We don't really prevent it. And so hopefully everything that's happened with COVID-19 has made us more aware to try and prevent it. Because here's the thing, about 2 weeks ago, I got COVID. We thankfully got the mild strand, but my daughter, my husband, and I all got it because I gave it to them before I realized that I had COVID. And so, we want to prevent it. But I was really thankful that we had prevented it up until that point by doing some of these measures. But here's my point. I also don't want the flu. I don't want the stomach bug. I don't want a bad cold. I don't want any of these other things too that are still out there. Viruses and sicknesses didn't go away when COVID came. So here's some ideas. If you want to do vaccinations, do that. That is a personal choice for you and your child. So let me make that very clear. Staying home when you're sick. I know that sometimes it interferes with work, but do not send your children to school sick. Or if there is no one to keep them, let someone know at school so that they won't be in the classroom with the other kids. The worst thing ever as a teacher was when a kid would walk in and I could see they were sick. I'd go over to them and say, Tom, Sally, what's going on? What happened? Are you feeling bad? And they would say, yes, I've been up all night long throwing up, but Mom said get on the bus. Oh, okay, well, we want to put you where you're not going to infect the other 25 students in the classroom. So that's the big thing. Reach out to teachers. Let them know if there's no one to keep your child and they're sick. People will work with you, but don't just send them in sick and then risk others being sick. You want to use ventilation, fresh air. Hand sanitizer is very prevalent now. It's a normal thing. But it does kill germs. Covering coughs and sneezes, actually teaching your child how to do that. Cleaning areas, and then masking if they're sick. So again, let's say they just have a bad cold or they felt bad the night before and you think they're okay to go to school, have them wear a mask and then it will protect others. Wash well. So here is something that I love to share. Whenever I first was a librarian with Orlando Health before being with AdventHealth University, I had to go to a class where I was trained to wash my hands, and I was actually tested on washing my hands because it is very important. What we normally do really quick in the sink doesn't do much of anything. So we want to make sure that our kids are using soap, warm water preferably, and we want them to wash their hands for at least 20 seconds. So with kids, really, and adults too, that's actually the happy birthday song or the ABC song. So, you could have them do that song or any song they like and time it. And if it's at least 20 minutes, then they have washed their hands properly. So tips to ease anxiety, because let's be honest, anxiety is a part of school. It's a part of what they're facing. And so we want to make sure that we are doing our part to help them with that. So here's a couple things. Some kids are super excited because I know here in Central Florida, I'm not sure about every area in Florida, but in Central Florida, public schools start back next week on the 10th. And so you guys are probably the same day or very close to that. So a lot of kids, instead of being excited, are scared to death, very anxious. And so we want to be aware of that. You know your child better than anyone else. So if you feel like there's some anxiety with going back to school, these are some great tips. A week or two before school, start preparing everybody for school. Maybe you want to start having more of a regular bedtime, or maybe you want to go ahead and start selecting clothes for the next day. Buying school supplies is always a fun thing. Arrange play dates maybe with some of their peers so that they can see some people. Visit the school before the school year begins. And most people have what we call open house, where you go the week before school or a couple days before school starts, and you meet your teacher and you look around school. Really take advantage of that. And if you can't go to the scheduled one, call the school and ask if you can go at another time, because a lot of times they'll accommodate that if they know you're coming. But don't just spring in and say, hey, we're here and we want to meet the teacher and we want to go on a tour. Because while they're preparing for school, it is a really hectic time. Believe me, I can tell you that as a teacher. But talk about where they're going to be dropped off, where the playground is, all things about it. Maybe the cafeteria, where the office is if they need help. Come up with a prize or a rewarding activity that they could earn for separating from mom and dad to attend school. So maybe if they go into their classroom so many days a week or so many times in a row, maybe something special happens. And validate your child's worry. Don't just say, oh, you're fine, don't worry about it, it's going to be fine. Acknowledge, hey, new things can be scary. Sometimes mom is scared when it's something new. Sometimes dad is. We're a little nervous. It can be hard, but soon it's going to be easy and fun. So acknowledge and then encourage. Don't ever dismiss, because that's so easy for us to do. Don't feel that way. You shouldn't feel that way. And that doesn't help when someone's having anxiety. So here are 5 top tips for relieving stress. And this is for mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, and the kids. This is for everybody. The first thing is just to eat nutritious meals. And when we say this, we're saying implement real food, implement vegetables, fruits, lean meats, nuts, things that are healthy foods for your body. We already talked about this is really for adults. Adults are 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. Kids up until 18 are 8 to 10. So getting those hours of sleep, exercising. But here's what I want you to think about. Find something that you and your child enjoy doing. So if it's walking the dog in the neighborhood, if it's going to the pool here in Florida, we can do that a lot. If it is a sport they like, but find things that they like doing to get their bodies moving. Then drink lots of water. We do not drink enough water. Most of the time we just don't. And I have to keep it with me so that I'll drink it. I have it on my desk all day. We actually take it with us in the car, but it has to become a habit. But water is so important. And then make a task list. And this is great for your kids as well. Make a list maybe on Sunday of what's happening the week ahead, or what tasks they should do when they get home from school, and let them mark those tasks off. It really does help you feel a sense of achievement when you can mark those things off a list. Okay, so this is the #1 referred website that I give everyone, and it's called Medline Plus. Now, if you look it up on the web, it's going to be medlineplus.gov, because this is actually a website created by the National Library of Medicine, a trusted resource, and this is a website created for patients and families. So you can find any information on any diagnosis here. This website also is 100% translated into Spanish. There are a few other languages here or there that's within the site, but it is a great resource. There are videos, handouts, it connects you to websites that are for patients and families. So this is a great tool to use throughout the year. This is what I want you to use instead of Google. Okay. Another website I want to share with you is called healthychildren.org. And this is from the American Academy of Pediatrics. This is probably one of my favorite website resources for children and parents, because any and everything you would want to know about is located here. It is an excellent online resource. You can look up anything. The other thing I love about this site is they have resources for parents and children. So it really does specify and put it on the level of a child so that they can understand what's happening with their health and with their body. Healthychildren.org. Okay, so where did I get my information? Well, here's what I do. I'm a librarian. I look information up, and then I want you to know where I look this information up, because every place I went, you can go for free on the web and get even more information at these sources. So I already talked to you about Medline Plus from the National Library of Medicine. The next one I used is the National Institute of Health. And here it actually says NIMH because it's the National Institute of Mental Health, but they have everything you can think of about your health there. And then you've heard this acronym a lot over the past 2 years, the CDC. So that's Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So a lot of info I got here today was from there. Also the Mayo Clinic, and I love that the book that was suggested at the beginning of this session was from the Mayo Clinic, and their online site for patients and families is phenomenal. And then I got some info from stopbullying.gov, and this is a federal website that is free to go to that just gives you some tips and some information about how to stop bullying, how to deal with it, how to help your kids through it, how to talk to parents. You know, it's a really great site. And then the last place I went was Johns Hopkins, which is a medical system. And so Johns Hopkins hospitals, you may have heard that before. And so I got a lot of info from them as well. So let's say that now that we have had this time together, you realize I would like some more information, and it could be on something we talked about today, or it could be something completely different but associated with your health. Well, I have a free patient health research resource for you, and it's called the Clifford E. Grace Community Health Library. I used to work for this library. They are supported and sponsored by Orlando Health. But here's the beauty. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. It doesn't matter where you are a patient. This is a free resource. This is actually a separate library from the hospital. It's funded by the Grace family because they want patients any and everywhere to be able to connect with a medical research librarian and get information that will help them improve their health. So you can call them here at this number, 321-841-5454, or you can email them at library@orlandohealth.com. And so when you call or when you email, just let them know what the health topic is, what you need information about, and they will get back to you normally within 24 hours, and they'll send you information, websites, all kinds of things. So use this service. Don't just search and search for hours and not find what you need. Please give them a call or an email. All right, so this is the end for me. I'm going to hand this back over to Chris, and then any questions anyone may have.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Like she said, this is the time that you can ask questions. I'll go ahead and turn my camera back on here. You can post them in the questions section. Looks like we do have a few coming in here.
All right.
Someone's asking about any free, I should mention before anything, Jessica put together a PDF handout that has a lot of the resources that she covered this evening, and that's
Yes.
available in the handout section of the control panel here. So if you want to download that, you can. But someone's asking about any free or reliable online resources for like children's nutrition, like meal plans and recipes. Do you know of anything like that?
I would begin with the healthy, I think it's healthychildren.org that I shared earlier, and it's on the handout.
Yes.
From the American Pediatrics. That would be the #1 place I would tell you to start. You could also go to Medline Plus, which is that medical research tool,
Okay.
and just put in children's nutrition, and they'll connect you to websites that are reputable, that you can trust. So that would be what I would suggest.
Excellent. All right. Well, we have a comment here about picky eaters. And this person said that they found that involving their children in the cooking process has helped to introduce them to new and different nutritious foods. So they're just sharing that.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And I will say that did help with my daughter, because she's a hands-on person. And I think sometimes, if you have them help cook it and everybody's like, oh, well, let's all try what you've made. That really does make a difference. And I will say also, think about different ways of preparing the same food. For instance, my daughter's not a big veggie person, but if we put them in the air fryer, she likes the texture better. So, and I don't like mushy veggies. I like it kind of, even roasted in the oven, so it has some texture. So you can think about that too. And then adding some seasoning to your veggies and different things, so yeah.
All right, any other questions? Oh, we have another comment that just came in. Someone says, thank you for this very helpful presentation. I have 3 children in elementary school, and this is all going to be very useful. So
yes, wow. Well, we are, God bless you.
Yeah, 3, that's a lot. So
that is a lot in elementary, but you can do it. And the other thing is, we can't beat ourselves up, Chris. We are not perfect. No parent is. We can just try to do the very best we can for our kids. That's the end goal.
That really is the truth. All right, well, that's it for questions. Thank you, Jessica, for yet again providing a great presentation. We always enjoy it. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone who joined us. Now, if you want to contact the library, you can call the number here on our screen, 813-273-3652, or you can go online at hcplc.org/contact. And you can also look at our calendar of events online or share your library story. Oh, I got a dog barking in the background here. Anyway, thank you again, Jessica, and thank you everyone who joined us. I hope you all have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you soon.
All right, thanks, Chris. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.